Hey there, you have a wish list, right? Well, so do I. And you want to know what mine is? One on there? One of them is if you would like and share this video with other people. Because when you do that, that means the content reaches more people and helps other people, and everyone then becomes organized. It's a win-win, right? So be sure to share this with someone that you know would love more inspiration about pantry organization. Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's organizing video. We are going to talk about a pantry that I organized a couple weeks ago and really want to show you the importance of symmetry and having matching bins and how effective it is, because our brains love it and are really attracted to it, and how you can use what you have already and build from there. So this project that I'm going to get into already had about 15 bins that were all the same. And I didn't want to waste those bins, wanted to make good use of them. And so you'll see how it took those bins and built from there and created a pattern that was a system, adding some labels to make this pantry function really well for this family. All right, so we're gonna hop on into it and see how it was done. Okay, so you can see from those videos, wanted to show you the process and steps that were taken to establish a system in this pantry. And prior to me putting this all together, had a consultation at her home where we did discuss moving the medicine supplies and supplements to the door so we could make great use of that and free up space inside the pantry and focus on just keeping all the food in there, the cooking, baking, etc. We wanted to create the zone in the pantry. That's what it's for. The door is for all the medicine items. From there, as I mentioned in the intro, it was about incorporating bins that would blend nicely with what they already have. As I've previously mentioned, our brains love symmetry, and it was important to select another bin that created a pattern for this pantry, because if we decided to stick with the whole gray Y weave baskets in there, it would be a sea of gray and it would be too much for our brains. And so when selecting a bin to complement this one, I wanted to have one that was smooth and clear and did not have a design element to it, because the Y weave basket ones were already in there. The other thing that I wanted to add to this pantry was a focal point, which is something you should try to do. It doesn't always have to be the case, but with a pantry this size, having a focal point just makes things look easier, it flows easier, and it makes our brains happy, which is why the expandable shelf was added for the cans to give you a nice visual. It breaks up it in between the bins and just makes the overall flow of the pantry much nicer. So prior to me coming in and getting everything organized, this client had decluttered quite a bit. So a lot of that was basically done before I got there. And when I got there, it was really about me coming in there to get everything nice and organized. And the first thing that was done was making sure everything was completely out of the pantry. And then is when
I created the system of the bins. So starting with the gray at the bottom, then the clear, putting in the expandable can organizers with the bins, the gray bins next to it, and clear, and then the gray at the top. So it was really about creating a solid structure and system before anything was in there, because it makes it a lot easier to set up the system and then fill everything in as you go. And that's exactly what happened here. So then it was about deciding where things need to go. And that was all contingent on what they use frequently. So there's 4 kids in this household, and snacks are a frequent thing. So we wanted to make sure that they were easily accessible without having to reach too high or too low. Hence the reason why down there at the bottom really kind of was more of the back stock items, things that don't get used as often. And then from there, it was the clear bins moving on up that were more for kid friendly. Then you had the canned goods with the pasta and the condiments. Next up was a variety of items from bread, sauces, and tuna. And then the top item was really your baking, your coffee, your breakfast items, all right there, neatly labeled up at the top. Okay, so as previously mentioned, we moved the medicine and supplements to the door, which made a really big difference because it freed up a lot of space in the pantry, but it also put everything all in front of them so you could see it all right there. Rather than trying to sort through bins to figure out what was where, you open up that door and you see it all right in front of you, which is great. Now, we use this here for medicine and supplements, but that doesn't have to be that way if you are looking for more space. You can use it for spices, oils, sauces, chip bags, anything really. You name it. A lot of things can fit in these bins that you don't realize, and the door is so often overlooked because a lot of people don't think there's really even anything out there for it. And this Alpha door and wall rack system works wonders for basically any space where you're having space constraints. So when it came time to organize this door unit, really tried to keep like items together as much as possible per bin. So starting all the way up at the top is where we had the supplements for the first 2. Then in the middle one were more of the pain medicines all kind of grouped together. Then down below were the kids' supplements, and then Band-Aids down on the next larger bins and boxes, and so on and so forth. And then down all the way at the bottom were a lot more of the cold and allergy type items. So just trying to keep as much as possible those items that belong in the same category in the same bin to make it easier to find things. Now, just to give you a little bit of an idea of the size of these bins and what can fit in them. So if you're a Costco shopper or a warehouse shopper that has those large, bulkier supplement jars, you can see the Costco one there in the middle, the Kirkland brand. That is the medium-sized basket, which fit perfect for that type and size of supplement. Okay, so here on the smaller side of the shelving when you first walk into the pantry is where we tried to keep the items that were most frequently used a lot right at her fingertips. So you've got the breakfast items right up there. So I put those at the top shelf because they're larger and it's easier to reach and see those. But then as you move your way down, keeping the spices there at eye level, then the cooking items, and then down below the canned goods. Now the canned goods, there's also a bin with the soup right next to it. So just kind of tried to keep the same type of theme as you move down, and then adding the labels on the shelves. So we didn't put these ones in bins because there was that bar, if you can see, that was kind of in the way there, and you're still searching through bins when you're trying to find what you need. And if they were all displayed out in front of you, it makes it a lot easier to find what you need. Okay, so we're going to recap quickly everything that was done to make this pantry look and function and feel amazing. So, the first thing that was done was analyzing the space to see what bins were already there, where could we create more space, which was by moving things to the door. From there, it was taking inventory of the current bins and sizes and figuring out what would complement it nicely. From there, it was putting the system in place. Once the system was in place, it was creating each bin for its own category and putting it in the appropriate place that to be used. So more frequently used items were going to be in those middle shelves, less frequently used were at the top. Again, symmetry matters, so it was about creating a pattern that was very aesthetically appealing to the eye. As always, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed this episode or found it valuable, please share it with someone else. We would so appreciate it, and it helps us out spread the word of organization. Be sure to come hang out with us on social at Organized Marie.